So first recipe we're making is something that is near and dear to my heart. I absolutely love Greek food, and I had the opportunity to go to Greece like a long time ago. It was a high school trip, and I've been dreaming of going back ever since. And one of these days I'll get back there, but until then, I just try and, get to Greece through the food I make every once in a while. So I'm going to do a Greek pasta bake. It's something that you'll find all over the place. It's kind of like our mac and cheese. This is something you'll find a lot in Greece, and it's just delicious. It's kind of like a Greek lasagna. It's called pistachio, and it is, wow, knock your socks off good. And you know me, I love a good casserole. So this recipe is easy. It's wonderful to, make for your family or just entertain with. Maybe do a Greek-themed meal would be a lot of fun. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start browning 2 pounds of lean ground beef. And this is beautiful, beautiful stuff from Festival. I'm really picky when it comes to ground beef, and you should be too. We've all seen those ground beef packages that just doesn't look real fresh. Look at how beautiful this is. They do it, grind it 3 or more times fresh daily, and it really just makes a big difference. Add a little onion to this, finely minced onion, and I'm going to get that going. Now, I pre-started because there's a few different steps to this recipe. This is definitely one of these recipes where you want to make it ahead of time if you can. Maybe even make it as early as in the morning, and then your company's coming over and you can bake it off right before they get there, because there's a few things going on. It's not a real quick weeknight dinner, but all the steps are worth it. Really great flavors, and if your family likes lasagna, they're going to love this. Okay, so I started boiling, and I want to cook it al dente, 1 box of ziti. So that's been boiling for about 10 minutes or so. Don't overcook it. I've talked about this before. Whenever you're using pasta in a casserole, you want to definitely undercook the pasta a bit, because if you overcook it, you're going to be stuck with a really mushy casserole, and nobody likes mushy noodles, right? So undercook your pasta. All right, now I'm going to make this wonderful cream sauce, and this is where this recipe is way different from lasagna, because it's got a great fluffy, cheesy, kind of almost a custard that goes on the top of this casserole, and it's really my favorite thing about the casserole. So I've got 1 stick of butter that I'm melting in a saucepan. I was lucky enough when I was in high school, I saved up my pennies, and back then it was a lot of pennies. And I went on like a trip of a lifetime this summer after my junior year. So about a 3-month-long trip of Europe, and oh wow, was it amazing. Saw more churches and museums and ate so much great food, and I've never been back since. It's on my list to get back there, so one of these days. But I just remember the food like it was yesterday. And the Greek food was really some of my favorite. I'm going to season this with some salt and pepper. Just so fresh and different than what I was used to, growing up with. Let's see, today we're making Greek food. We're doing an Afghani lunch. We found a place that does, it's right in Appleton too, a traditional Afghani lunch, so I'm really excited about that. We're making falafels, Mexican wedding cookies, all sorts of really fun international recipes. My favorite, a Cuban sandwich, which is so delicious. Oops, I'm talking about my trip to Europe, and I'm forgetting about the butter, and I don't want to burn the butter. Thank you, Anne, for saving me here. Okay, in goes to the butter, which is just about melted. I'm just going to give it a little bit, and I'll go work on my garlic. I've got a few cloves of garlic that I'm going to add in there with that ground beef. Give it a rough chop. We'll go ahead and get that garlic in there. How's my butter looking, Ann? Is it almost ready? Hate that when you walk away and you burn butter, and it's like you have to start all over again. So keep an eye on it whenever you're melting butter. All right, in goes our garlic. A little more salt and pepper. All right, now my flour. goes into my butter, and I'm going to whisk, 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 whisk. Cook it for just a minute or so I can get that flour taste. I don't want it to taste, you know, that's got that kind of floury background. I want it to be a really nice cream sauce. So now I've got 4 cups of milk. So I'm going to add into this flour, butter, and milk. So we're basically making a bechamel or a basic white sauce. And now I'm going to bring that to a boil, and we'll start adding some more ingredients in just a minute. So I just want to kind of let that hang out, bring it to a simmer, and it's going to thicken. But I don't want to completely ignore it. You need to get in there and stir it every once in a while. Okay, so my beef is getting crumbly. I'm just about there. And I'm going to make basically a wonderful tomato sauce, but you'll see some fun different things in here that you're not going to find that makes this much different from you know, Italian dishes and makes it very uniquely Greek. I'm going to open up 1 can of crushed tomatoes. This is one of the 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. I'm going to get that in here. Sometimes there's a little bit of sauce left in the can, so the recipe actually calls for a little bit of water. So you can just take a little bit of water and get it in the can, and that way you'll get every little last bit of that out of there. Okay. Now I'm going to do a little bit of dry white wine, and this is, we actually used this in a recipe a couple days ago, so this is just, we love to use those little mini bottles of Chardonnay for cooking. They don't cost a lot of money and they've got great flavor. A little bit of tomato paste. We love the tubes of tomato paste. The recipe calls for about a tablespoon. Just kind of pumps up the tomato flavor, gives it a little, this dish a little sweetness and richness, and then I can just, it's like a tube of toothpaste. Cap back on, into the refrigerator, and the next time a recipe calls for, it seems like those recipes call for a tablespoon or 2 of tomato paste, so what do you do if you open a can? What do you do with the whole rest of it? I mean, certainly you can take it out and freeze it in little Ziploc baggies, but the convenience of the tomato paste in a tube just rocks. Okay, so this is fun. Now we're going to add a pinch of cinnamon to this recipe. And you're going, really? And it's just, with the savory and the garlic and that little bit of cinnamon, very uniquely Greek, that flavor. And if you could smell it, wow, it smells really good, doesn't it, Ann? In fact, I may go a little bit more in the cinnamon, just a little bit. You don't want to overdo it. But there we go. This is just going to give, it's amazing how that little bit of a different flavor takes the dish to a whole another thing. Okay. All right, so the sauce is looking great. I can add a little more water. And I'll just let that hang out and simmer. Let me just get back to my white sauce now. So this is just about there, just about ready to start thickening. And I'm going to get to work. I've got, the recipe calls for 4 egg yolks. So we'll use the whites in a different recipe. And this is going to make that sauce, oh, so rich and amazing. So 1. 2, whoops. 3 and 4. Okay, great. Give my hands a quick wash. We're just about to start putting this whole dish together, so got got my sauce here. How are we doing? Just waiting for that to boil. I'm going to actually turn this off, and now I can add my pasta, my cooked ziti, to the sauce, and we can start getting that into our casserole dish. Thank you. Definitely grease your casserole dish. This can be a sticky one, like lasagna. So spray it really well. The pasta coated with that sauce. And like I said, this is one of those dishes you'll find at, all the mom and pop. It's very, you're not going to find this probably at the fancy Greek restaurants if you go to Greece, but you'll find it everywhere else. It's the good stuff. It's what they really eat over there. That and, the cheese pies, spanakopita, cheese and spinach pies, and things like that. Thank you very much again. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of mix this around with the noodles. And I think the kids are really going to like this one, especially with that little bit of cinnamon. Nothing not to like in here. And I always think about that. We didn't use chunky tomatoes, we used crushed tomatoes, so when I'm making a dinner, I'm hoping everybody in the family is going to eat it, although my kids are getting a lot better. All right, I'm going to move this over here. Great, we're starting to thicken. And at this point, just want that to come to a boil, which is going to happen momentarily. I've got 1 cup of grated, and this is important, grated Parmesan cheese. And this is going to make almost like an Alfredo kind of a custard is a great way to describe it. So I don't want to rush this. Of course, a washed pot never boils, right, Ann? All right, hold on. And I've got my whisk handy because once this comes to a boil, we're going to take it off the heat, whisk in my egg yolks, and then whisk in also the Parmesan cheese. So here we go. We're starting to, and it just happens so quickly. It's just a matter of seconds. We're all like dreaming of the one we've got in the oven. And I do think it's really fun to, if you're going to make a dish like this, to carry out a theme. Maybe put on some great Greek music, pick up or make some baklava, a nice Greek salad with feta cheese, tomatoes, and cucumbers, and a light Greek vinaigrette. Maybe put out some pita bread and just kind of make a whole meal of it. Okay, great. It's starting to thicken. We rushed it a little bit, but we're going to be okay. I'm going to take it off the heat, get our egg yolks in here. And this is what really makes this rich and custardy and wonderful and velvety. Look at that, and now this is another little Greek flavor. A little bit of nutmeg. So we got the little bit of cinnamon and the nutmeg in here. Now, we're saying, what's she going to do with that? This actually gets poured, but not mixed in, on top of this pasta bake. So it just gets poured right on the top, and then we're going to top it with some more Parmesan cheese. It goes into a preheated 350-degree oven, and look what happens after about half hour to 45 minutes. Wow-y. Yep, this one's a winner. It's my Greek pasta bake. It's called pistachio. It's, a little bit time-consuming to make, but It's worth it big time. Yum. Recipes on our website. You can also pick it up in any area of Festival Foods.